Hello everybody, welcome to this week's video. Today we're looking at the Hyundai Ioniq 6. Look at that. The name is behind the plastic. That's cool. Oof, car's dirty, my bad. Yeah, wow, what do we say, huh? This is Hyundai's first full battery electric sedan, is that right? Yes, it is. Part of their Ioniq line, which is kind of their daring line of electric vehicles. The Ioniq 5 came first to rave reviews. This followed to rave reviews. This is my first chance to have a go in it. I gotta be honest, I really like it. I like the way it looks. I'm a sedan guy, and regular watchers of the channel, all 6 of you will know that I like sedans. I really like sedans, especially sedans that are set up well and that have sporting aspects to them. This is like that. We'll get to that when we're driving, but it it starts with the looks, doesn't it? And this is a cool looking car. You know, the side profile is quite striking, actually. Reminds me a little bit of, I think it's the Mercedes CLS from years ago. Do you remember that? Pillarless doors. This has pillars on the doors, obviously, but had kind of a, I don't know, sort of looks like a leaf spring of sorts. But anyway, one of the most striking aspects of this car, of course, is this double spoiler arrangement in the back. I don't know how to feel about that when I first got a good look at it. And I kind of thought that this whole arrangement here, because this rear windscreen is quite small, I thought visibility out the back would be useless, but it's actually really good. It doesn't interfere at all, and you get kind of the funky design element that has come to be the primary characteristic of the Ioniq line of cars. Speaking of the Ioniq design philosophy, you get these cubes. The Ioniq 5 kind of looks like it walked out of 1983, and much like me, it doesn't want to go anywhere else. So you get these cubes everywhere on the Ioniq 6 as well. They're in the brake lights, the tail light, they're everywhere. They're all over the place. It's very interesting. And this car continues see more cubes even on the wing mirror there, etc. It's a fascinating looking car. I've got to be honest. We come to the front and they're in the headlights. They're right down there at the bottom. Hyundai, for future reference, these should do a light show display while you drive. Oh man, that would be just great. Yeah, that would be as 80s as it gets, I think. Gotta say, the face of this thing is as beautiful as the rest of it. I really like the way it looks. Man, Hyundai's doing some really weird stuff these days, with the Ioniq line anyway, and I dig it. You can make decisions when you're designing a car to do whatever you want, as long as it fits whatever your rules are, based on whatever. But they're being bold, with regards to the outside of this car, bold. And I really respect that. The Ioniq 5 did it first. This is followed up and in fine form. Absolutely astonishing. I love it. Since we're out here, let's take a look. This is the charging port. Gotta unlock the car, don't I? Something like that. Look at that. It's got these little toggle door handles, which I saw in the Genesis GV60, if I remember correctly. I'm not sure if I like those or not. What do you think? It's good for opening the door, as you can see. But then if you're not going to lock it with your fob, which we're not accustomed to doing anymore, you got to touch this little, pad there, and it locks the car, and that's fine. But it's kind of a weird angle. Small gripe, I suppose. But anyway, I was going to show you the charging port, wasn't I? There it is. Powered charging port. Isn't that cool? Love that. Doesn't need to be, but it's very cool. So there's your charging port. You can charge this thing at home. I'll get to that. Hey. Don't argue with me. Okay, moving on. We got the trunk in the back here. So this is almost looks like a lift back from the outside, but it is a full trunk. And it's actually a decent size. I thought the floor would be too high and kind of cut off the trunk space, but honestly, it's pretty good back here. It's not bad at all. You get a really decent amount of space. You could probably get golf clubs in here. Maybe 2 sets? I don't know. It's possible. Maybe. But I don't golf, so it doesn't matter to me. You do get a lift power, sorry, I meant to mention, a power trunk lid. How cool is that? So one of those things they didn't have to add, but they did. Let's take a look at what comes under the hood, because of course, being an electric vehicle, you never know what you're going to get, do you? In terms of the, I guess, the frunk of it all. I haven't even looked under here, so this will be as, there we go. Ooh, got struts and everything. Love it. So what do we get up front? Not a whole hell of a lot. We get this little compartment here. What would you put there? Oh, hell if I know. I don't know. I mean, it's just there, so you can put a little, it's almost an engine cover, but there's no engine. What the hell's under here? I wonder. Anyway, I don't know. All the electronic gubbins is under there, and that's what you get up front. So if you want to put some mandarins in there, you're good to go. All right, well, that's the engine compartment. Let's step into the back seats, shall we? Because my kids, 12 and 14, about the same, well, they're not the same size as me, but the same height as me, really like the back seat of this car. So let's test it out. Oh, yeah. Excuse me with the man noises. Okay. Well, I got to say, so I'm seated behind myself, and look at this. It's like a foot. This is incredible. Now I get what they were talking about. I deliberately did not go into the back seat because I wanted to be fresh, you know, with my impressions for you guys. And look at this. Look at the space. It's amazing. It's unbelievable. Wow. How about headroom? How are we? Okay, well, it's got to have an Achilles heel somewhere. You don't get those good looks without sacrificing a bit of headroom. But I'm not scraping. Man, this is incredible. This reminds me of my F-150, you know, just the bigness of the back seat. It's beautiful, my God. So we get the center console, as usual, with cup holders, etc. Very nice. All of it covered in what I assumed was Napa leather. But, you know, being a YouTube auto journalist of integrity, I did a bit of research, and this is leatherette. This is synthetic, and it feels nice. Now, of course, that I know it's leatherette, I can feel it, but it had me conned before, which means I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. But it's leatherette, and it's beautiful. It's soft, it's supple. Yeah, it's really nice. I mean, if you're going to put in fake stuff, this is the fake stuff you use. Gotta say. Vents in the back, 2 USB-C power ports, some weird little thing there. I don't know what you put in there, change or what have you. And you get ambient lighting. It comes in from behind this kind of, I realize I'm on this side. You have like a gap here, and behind the ambient lighting's in here. Then it glows off the panel. But look at these panels. Starts out smooth up here and flows into ripples on the ocean as we go further down. Very, very unusual. This door pull and stuff like that, all this gear kind of looks Genesis-ish. Looks like it came out of a Genesis. You get your seat warmers, your window controls, etc. It's nice back here. You don't get a sunroof here. You get kind of a 1.5 up front there. We'll get to that when we get to the front seats. But it's so big, and the colors are so nice. It's just, I mean, it's beautiful. It's like 7:30 in the morning right now, and it doesn't feel dark. It's overcast. Rained last night, thank God. You know, and it's just, it's great. Man, it's incredible back here. This is nice. You could put some miles down in the back seat of this car. Usually, back seats bore the pants off me, but this is really nice. Man, oh man, well done, Hyundai. Gotta be honest. I can't remember the name of the gentleman that designed this car, but he knows what he's doing. I'll tell you that much. So these toggles, what do you guys think? I don't know. It looks cool when they pop open or when they pop close, because you can see it in your wing mirrors when you open and close them, which is cool. There's the ambient lighting. You can kind of see it. Really should record one of these videos at night sometime. But yeah, it kind of rings the... There it is as I close the door. See? It's set to red at the moment, but you can change the color. Yeah, this is the front. There's the sunroof I was mentioning. It's kind of a traditionally sized sunroof, probably because of the curvaceous nature of the roof line. But it's good. I rarely use sunroofs. Look at this. Look at this dash. This whole thing. It's like a big scoop, and sitting in the middle of it is your infotainment and your dash cluster. It's one big screen broken into 2 12-inch pieces. You know, like, just before I turn the car on, just taking it in. You know, it is a lot of gray and like off-white gray, or whatever you want to call these colors. There is that. It is a little gray, but with this car, you feel like there's a purpose behind it. It's part of the overall, you know, design philosophy, and it's not ugly. At least I don't think it is. Yeah, I like it. It's a great place to sit. I got to be honest. We're going to turn the car on here, and it has a button. I like that. I hope they don't, like, Volvos are great, but they don't have, a lot of them don't have start-stop buttons. This electric car does. And yeah, 7:30 in the morning. There we go. So here's, look at that. Remember I said blocks, right? They're kind of everywhere on this car. If you, on the wireless charging pad, on the little indicator thing down here, which I don't remember what that does. Maybe it tells you the charge status of your phone. Excuse the cup of Tim Hortons, pardon me. But let's start up top here. So you get your dash cluster. It is its own separate, I believe it's a 12.3 inch screen, dual 12.3s, if I remember correctly. This one, you just got so much information here. You have speedo, gears, electricity consumption, your charging, etc. You know, how much you're using, how much you're recovering, battery status, the level of your regenerative braking, rear seat indicator. I mean, it's got everything on there. Your paddles, which you guys can probably see, these are for adjusting your regenerative braking, which is pretty cool. So it starts out in level 3, and then boom, that puts you in I-pedal, which is their one pedal drive. I'll get to how much I like that when we start driving, or hate it, not to bury the lead. And you get, so your shifter is right here. Look at this thing. What the hell is this? That's great. I didn't know what to make of it. I thought it would feel flimsy. Some of the, I hope you guys can see this, Mercedes has their shifter on the stock, and honestly, I mean, it feels like a stir stick, right? It's really, really thin, and I'm always concerned I'm gonna break it when I'm trying to shift gears in that car or whatever. But this thing, I mean, it's solid as a rock, and you shift by twisting it. So that puts it in drive. Hit the button on the end, puts you in P. Reverse is the other way, of course. Which we should, since we're in reverse, look at the cameras, look at the display. Honestly, that is how you do. Are you listening? Honda, Nissan, so many others, that is how you do cameras, right? Look how clear it is. It's beautiful, right? It's HD, and the cameras are to match. It's big, you can see, it's just so good. That's how you do cameras. Okay, if you're going to put cameras in a car, especially in 2023, that's how you do it. Well done. I'll put it back in park. Oh, cool. You know something I just noticed? Watch this. It goes red. The little, I didn't even know. Wow, I've been driving this thing for a week. Look at that. So cool. Very neat. I dig that. Okay, back into park before I drive into a wall. So you get so that's the dash cluster. You get all your usual controls here on the steering wheel. You get your drive mode button down here. They're doing this little dropped eyeball thing on a lot of cars. You see them on Mercedes, and I'm sure there are on others. I get why it's there. It's very convenient, etc. Kind of funky looking. No objections. It's just, you can select through your drive modes. It comes with 3 eco. You can see how it affects your kilometers, because we're Canadian, kilometers to empty. So so there we go. In eco, you get 287 kilometers, normal 279, and then it drops another 10 or so in sport mode. We'll go through the drive modes when we're on the road, but oh man, so good. Okay, the infotainment system, kind of standard, I guess, sort of, pardon me, Hyundai infotainment system, but very usable. It's all touchscreen, etc. It has all the EV gubbins, etc. Plus the traditional stuff we like. CarPlay and Android Auto are wired only. Don't know why. I'm learning to get past that. I'm trying to grow as a person. So yeah, I'm not going to hold that against them. It just is what it is. Some weird technical limitation. Fine, whatever. You can control all the HVAC stuff from here, or you can do it from these controls down here. This, excuse me, this panel down here is a little weird. It takes a little bit of getting used to, just with the fan controls. And if you want to sync it, you got to go into this system, which is you got to go into the climate there and find the sync button. So, why does syncing the HVAC matter to me? I don't know. It just does, right? I just prefer it all be the same. But anyway, that's a me thing. But they are outside of this for the most part, other than 1 or 2 bits of functionality. And then you get the shortcut keys down here, etc. It's good. It's nice. In the center console, you get a wireless charging pad. This is where you plug in your phone, etc. Some very, very conservatively sized cup holders. Very interesting. All your window controls and door locks and stuff are all here in the center. It does take a little bit of getting used to, but like anything, you adjust quickly. And I don't mind having them there. It's pretty good. No complaints. A tiny, tiny center console full of whatever I jammed in there over the last couple of days. And that's it, isn't it? It's a nice place to be. Here, we'll open up the sunroof so you guys can have a look at it. Yeah, it's kind of just a touch bigger maybe than the standard sunroof that you get in cars, but it's all right. It gives it a lot of sunshine right now. but it'll destroy the audio, so we'll close that up. There we go. And then it's going to vent, of course. There we go. All right. Well, I think it's drive time, isn't it? I want to show you guys how this thing drives. It's fascinating stuff. Battery electric cars are, man, they've really, they've grown on me. You know, I didn't take them seriously even just a couple of years ago, and they've come a long way. Got to tell you. Okay, let's drive, shall we? Let me adjust my hat here. Make sure we're good to go. No police officers or anything. As you can tell, it rained last night I should say, which is lovely because our entire province is effectively on fire at the moment because it has been a long, dry summer. So always nice to see rain, no matter how much or how little, as it were. So the Ioniq 6. Let's start with price point, shall we? It starts at $55,000 Canadian, and this one is the is it Prestige model? And with the ultimate package. So it has all-wheel drive, the 2-motor system, and basically all the bells and whistles. And this one tops out around $64,000. Not an insignificant amount of money, is it? It's yeah, I mean, it's not a cheap car, but it's not that expensive either, which is interesting. So, you know, battery electric cars, I mean, they kind of start at 50 grand and go up from there, I suppose. Yeah, but that's kind of the price breakdown for the Ioniq 6. Competitors. Well, I was thinking about it, trying to figure out, well, who makes battery electric sedans other than the Tesla Model 3, right? That's the obvious go-to. And that's who this car is. That's the vehicle that this car is designed to slay, right? I mean, this is a Tesla killer, and does it in fine form, in my opinion. But there are others. There's a BMW i4 that you can get, which is actually starting prices, etc. Is about the same. Starts at mid-50s. You start spanking it up, it starts putting on the dollars pretty quick, but it does have a similar starting price to this car. I don't think you get as much range, etc. And we should get to the range thing in a minute. But there's that, and then there's the Tesla Model 3, of course, which again, similar price points based on relative equipment, etc. So I'm just going to pull over here because this guy in the pickup is on my ass, and I find it intimidating to try and talk to you guys while he's licking my heels. Okay, so anyway, back to competitors. We have the Tesla Model 3, the BMW i4. I have not driven the i4. I cannot comment on that car. I can only tell you what the internet tells me, but it is definitely in this sphere in terms of price and capabilities. The Tesla Model 3, and then the another one that popped to mind was the Mercedes EQE, because there's two, right? EQE and EQS. Just give them names, Mercedes. Oh, God. I'll never forget Ioniq 6, will I? It's just easy. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. But that one, unfortunately, I mean, price point starts for the lower end model, which has less power than this one, is like 85 grand. It's ridiculous, right? It's just way too expensive. But it is, you know, a similarly sized full battery electric sedan, so I figured I'd mention it. And if you're an acolyte of the 3-pointed star, good to know that option exists. Okay, so driving. What do we get? Well, I tried to look up. Normally when you get a car from the manufacturer, they provide you with a little sheet that tells you kind of the bells and whistles, what's on it. This one came with one of those, but it did not specify power. I don't know why. Maybe it's the EV thing or whatever. So I tried Googling it, and actually it wasn't easy to figure out what's on offer. But as far as I can determine, and correct me in the comments below if I'm wrong, but this one with the dual motors, etc., gives you 320 horsepower, which seems about right based on how it feels to drive. And that's if you use sport mode, which we'll demonstrate for you in a minute. And then you can toggle it down from there. And there's only 2 trim levels in Canada, so you can have the rear wheel drive, which is the single motor, which is about 220 horsepower, or this one, which has varying power levels and maxes out at the 320. You do get 400. Please hold for a moment. Let me consult my notes because I'm a professional. 446 pound-feet of torque. thank you. So far as I could determine. So that's kind of where the magic happens with electric cars, is in the torque band. And when you put this thing in sport and pin it, man, do you feel that, right? I mean, it really, really goes. But then it does top out. That's the funny thing. Like, it launches like a rocket. And then, I mean, it doesn't have 600 horsepower, does it? It has, a reasonable amount of horsepower, but the magic's in the torque. And then it kind of levels out, but it is fun. Driving this thing on the highway and stuff, man, it is nimble. It handles great because it's got all-wheel drive, and that power, the way it comes on, is perfect if you're going to switch lanes, do anything kind of, last minute or aggressive, or if you need to, cut into another lane. It's awesome, right? And it handles well. It can handle the power. It's great. It's wonderful to drive. I've really enjoyed my time in this car. Let's talk range, because that's always the question when it comes to battery electric cars. So Hyundai says that this thing will do 518 kilometers on a full charge. Obviously, that number represents 100% to zero, which you're not supposed to do. But I can tell you, I've driven this thing now over the week. I've got it down to around 20% from full, and I did 420 kilometers, 425 kilometers. That's pretty good. Most of it was in either Eco or Comfort. I can't remember what mode I had it in for most of it. And again, it was a pleasing thing to drive, and the economy is excellent. I don't always expect the fuel economy numbers that the manufacturer gives you to be accurate, whether it be an internal combustion car or an EV. Usually I think they're just made up, or they pull them out of a hat. But in the case of this thing, they are very, very accurate, which is really cool to see. So, if you do the 10 to 80% thing that they say you're supposed to do with battery electric cars, you'd probably do a comfortable 425, I guess, roughly speaking. 400, 450, depending on how you drive, whatever, speeds, etc., which is pretty solid. So the architecture for this car will allow you to charge up to 233 kilowatt hours, kilowatts per hour, something like that. Anyway, which will charge it, if you take full, charge it in like 18 minutes, which isn't bad. The cool thing about this car that I love is that even though it's a full battery EV, and oftentimes it probably would feel like a waste of time to do so, you can charge it at home on a regular outlet. It comes with a charger, right? And you just plug it into the wall, plug it into the car. I've done that every night I've had it, and I usually plug it in for an average of 12 hours, and it gives me about 15% of the battery overnight. So if you were to treat this like a PHEV or a plug-in hybrid electric, you could daily it and plug it in at home without having to have a level 2, which is kind of cool, actually. Like, if you don't happen to have one or whatever, who knows, right? And that's cool. I like that they give you that functionality. Not every battery electric car even takes a regular plug-in, so that's neat. And you do get something as long as you leave it in long enough, I suppose. So, you could daily commute this thing without having to either commercially charge it or have a level 2 installed in your house. And that's cool. I dig that. That's great. So, well done. Excellent. What's it like to drive? Okay, well, we talked about that. So we're going to talk about that. We were in Eco. As soon as you put it into normal, it kind of, what am I trying to say? The car burps, if you know what I mean. That's a big dump truck in this neighborhood. Holy smokes. So, not that I'm nervous. I don't want them dropping rocks on this thing. Hyundai will get upset at me. But when you shift it from Eco to Comfort, it burps, as in, ooh, he's unlocked some extra power. And then when you put it into Sport, do it on a smooth section of road here, same thing. And it just, all of a sudden it comes alive, right? And of course you get the red and it says Sport over there. And oh man, it's just like, it wants to go. And when you put your foot down, it just tears, right? I don't want to do too much of this in a residential neighborhood, but it goes. Sport is fun. It really does. And you might notice on the bottom here, it doesn't tell you anymore what your electricity consumption is. It tells you how much torque you're generating. It's a 0 to 100 scale, or is that the amount of torque you're using? Probably, that makes more sense. And again, it's all cubes. The amount of cubes in this car is just absolutely bonkers, isn't it? I pedal back on because somehow I turned it off. Yeah, it's really neat. Sport mode is fun, and honestly, the way it takes off is just incredible. This thing is just, it's a good car. But when it comes to battery electric cars, I've said it before and I will say it again with absolute confidence, nobody does it better than Hyundai. Across the Hyundai itself, Kia, and Genesis, fabulous. They're doing it right. You know, yes, they don't have the charging infrastructure of Tesla and that hurts them. I don't argue that. But if you have a level 2 at home, hell, if you have a level 1, you know, you can limp along. But if you have a level 2 charger at home, you're golden. Don't worry about it. You know, and they make real cars that happen to be powered by a battery electric drivetrain. You know, it's, yeah, I mean, it looks like the cars we've always driven, don't they? You know, this one's a stylish version of, but it's still a car, right? It has lots of interesting stuff going on the inside. Teslas are like blank canvases. They got that one screen and that's kind of it. This is far more engaging for me. I really like this. And if this was a car, a segment of the car that I was interested in buying, this is what I would get, 110%. So, yeah, I guess that'll do it. This is the Ioniq 6, the 2023 Hyundai Ioniq 6. Prestige, Ultimate, all-wheel drive, dual motor, something like that. Thank you all for joining me. I hope you enjoyed the video. It'll be interesting to see how this one does. The EV videos are hit and miss. You know, I don't know what EVs people are looking for, so we'll see who's looking for the Ioniq 6. You guys enjoy your day, and we'll see you on the next one. Have a good one, my friends.